Good morning, Judy. How are you?
Good morning, Lyric. I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah.
we're doing good. We're doing good.
Tell me where you're located and what things are like where you are right now.
Well, I live right outside of Washington, D.C. So there is still activity here. You can still, the cars are on the road when you come to the work in the morning. And we at Artistic Artifacts, we're here Monday through Friday shipping orders. We've been actually quite busy. The store is closed, but our routine is coming in every day and working. So I think part of that makes it a little easier to deal with.
Good, good. And Artistic Artifacts is literally my favorite store that I've ever been to. It has all the goodies, all the toys, all the things that a textile artist, surface designer would just drool over.
Thank you.
The
Thank you.
best.
Yeah,
Um,
pretty
you have
proud of it.
You have the funnest stuff there. In fact, why don't you tell us a little bit about the kind of things that you have in your store and what
Ooh.
you ship out, and what are some of your favorites?
Oh, my favorites. Well, wow. It's actually been kind of a challenge because we got so used to being a store where you could walk in and see everything, and the business was actually set up originally to be a web-only business. The store was kind of an accident, so it happened on its own. So our challenge at the moment is to try and bring the creativity and the environment in the store online, and it's turned out to be a little trickier, but my favorite is the batik panels. I just love the creativity that comes from Indonesia. And we have, fabrics and different things that are current lines, as well as vintage and a lot of hand-dyed vintage, which we've started trying to put a little bit more of that online. We have a collection of Japanese fabrics that's going to be online in the next 2 weeks. So that's exciting. And then we have the whole mixed media surface design embellishment part of the business that when we couldn't find it, we kind of made it and created it. And that's where the Artistic Artifacts textile paints came from.
Mm-hmm.
But we didn't like it out there, so we decided to make what we wanted. So it's definitely all things that I use and that I feel comfortable with. So it's a privilege of being the one in charge.
That is something of a hard thing too, because I make kits and bring all the supplies for my students. I order wholesale, and some of them it's like, I want this one and this one and this one, and then it's like, I really have to leave some for my students. I can't use all of these. That's what I got them for. Like, I could open a bead shop. I have collections of things, that are just too much fun to play with, right? How are you coping mentally with all of this? Are you doing okay now?
I sleep. When I have hard times, I just sleep. So I have my alarm start at 6. I snooze it for about an hour, and then I finally crawl out of bed and come to work, and I'm okay. And I go home. I'm really lucky. My husband's home, and he loves to cook. Otherwise, I'd be eating peanut butter and jelly. And then, I read a book and crawl into bed. So that's kind of how I cope when things are tough, is I don't. I go unconscious.
You just hibernate.
Yeah,
I
exactly.
kind of wish I could do that, because what I do is I don't sleep.
Oh,
I
I
lay
know.
in bed and not sleep and not sleep and not sleep, and I wake up early and not sleep. But I know for me, just the last week and a half or so, I'm coming back online. It's like the off switch is off.
I think a lot of people are. I think it is hard. I mean, I don't know if you were aware, but I was actually in India at the beginning of March. Yes.
That's
And
interesting.
yes, it was. We learned quite a bit about how things function in a pandemic. But it was a trip that had been planned. We had checked with the State Department. We did all kinds of stuff to make sure, is it okay for us to go? And at that point in time, they were saying, yeah, go. So we get there, and about 3 or 4 days into the trip, which was with Coloricious and in Jaipur, and I met suppliers, and it just, I'm so happy I got to go. It was fabulous. but when we had to stay, we couldn't do anything. We couldn't change planes. The airlines are like, oh, well, your plane's canceled. Walk home. You're like, what?
From India.
From India, yes. So it was very tricky, but we ultimately all got home. There were 7 other people with us. We got home on the 21st of March. Well, because we had been out of the country, we had to do the self-quarantine for 14 days. And that was really hard. I was just, all I begged for is time at home to sew, and I got time at home and I couldn't sew. I couldn't create. Again, I just slept. So.
Shut down. And that's okay. I've talked to so many people that's the exact same thing. There's a lot of introverts who are like, this is my normal, this is my happy, this is where I am. But then even then, so many of the people I've talked to have just, there's so much anxiety and things that are filling up where the creative space is usually open, right?
Right. Worried about what if. I mean, what do I do if? And my son's girlfriend is a nurse. She's on the front lines, and he's a little freaked out and stuff, and because he gets CDC updates every day. I'm like, okay, I wouldn't leave the house either if I was getting CDC updates every day. So yeah, I think, and that's a natural human reaction, and we have to forgive ourselves. Right. For that we have to just forgive ourselves. That's what it is. This is something we've never experienced before.
It is. Talk to me a little bit more about the store and what measures you all are doing to keep safe there.
We're on a skeleton crew, so we don't have a full store. The retail store is not open under, you can place an order online, we can fill it, we're out of a lot of stuff. Things are moving very fast. And, if you want to pick it up, we put it outside the door and you pick it up, and then we do that. We clean twice a day. We probably should be better. We know we're coming to work. You go to the grocery store, you maybe get gas and you go home. So nobody's doing much more than that. And it's the same people every day that are coming in.
So you're all in each other's bubble.
Right, exactly.
Are you wearing masks at work?
A little bit, probably not as much as we should. They're really uncomfortable. I don't know how the medical staff. They
are.
Yeah.
They are. Yeah, I seriously considered, we can teach classes as long as we all wear masks, but then I've been wearing one enough that I'm like, I don't think anybody can leave it on safely for extended periods of time. And you can't hear me when I'm talking like this. So exactly. How would that even work?
You can't even see me smile when I have a mask on,
I go big crinkly eyes.
Yes, there you go. There you go. Yeah, I think it's a little tricky. Usually I have mine hanging on my neck, here, so that if I'm opening the door or whatever, I try to. Mm-hmm. But we've really just tried to keep each other safe. And I've had customers who've asked, when are you going to open a store? And I'm like, don't know. It's just, you have to respect. I have several employees who are not at work and choose not to be at work. And I have to respect that. What can I can't.
Yeah, it's for a lot of people, it's just not safe. It's
exactly
something that we can do. And I know it's really, and I'm an extrovert, so this is really difficult for me.
Me too.
I'm having trouble not going out and being with my people, and which is really just going out and teaching quilters.
Yeah.
But I love my people so much. I really do. Quilters are the best, and I don't think I could live with myself if I was part of bringing everybody into an unsafe environment and somebody was sick or died.
Right.
So our county here has not been super hard hit. We've been able to keep up in the hospitals, but still it's hundreds. Mm-hmm. Still hundreds of people have died. And I think that's what we need to do as a society, is care for people.
Right.
And it doesn't matter if they're the weak or the old. We need to care enough about each other to be okay with the sacrifices that we're making.
Well, and I have a global perspective, and this is a global problem. I mean, it's the traveling that we do so easily that can, hurt people. And so, I've been it was in India, and I've been in Indonesia, and I've been in some Taiwan, and some other Asian countries, and their whole system of taking care of their homeless and their poor and their food is all based on the community. The community does it. And India's total lockdown. There's not, I have suppliers who have actually gotten together and created food and handed like we do with our food banks. And I just think we need to be aware that, this is a global problem, and we need to take care of all of us. And the people who are your friends might not be in the US, might be in another country, but we've tried to do a little bit by whether it's sending money or whatever you can to the food banks here as well as around the world.
Mm-hmm. Right. So one of my favorite things to do ever is travel. And you were mentioning these countries and my heart starts pounding a little bit. Tell me something wonderful about being in Indonesia.
Oh, Indonesia. It's Indonesia. This was going to be my year of travel. So I turned 60 this year. So I had 3 trips planned. So one was the India trip. Another one was actually taking a week off and going and taking a class in Seattle. And then my next one was to teach a class in Italy. So I'm like, this was my year of travel. So I guess it's just going to be delayed a little bit. But Indonesia is very green. It has the colors and textures in that whole natural green, brown elements that are just amazing. The people in this, I had this happen in India too. They only want to tell you good stuff. Oh, let me do this for you. Oh, you're friendly. Oh, yes, let me take you here. And the history and the culture is so amazingly different. And it's so exciting to think of these things that have been around for centuries, and we're a couple hundred years old. And you go over there and you see, these temples that are centuries old. So it's just textures amazing.
The first time I traveled abroad, it was the first day off the airplane where I'm looking around me, and it just struck me what cultural infants we are.
I know.
Compared to the rest of the world. We see something go, oh, that's so old, it's so cool, and it's like 200 years old compared to, like a building that's been continuously occupied for 1,000 years.
Yeah.
It's just phenomenal.
I know. My family's been in this house for 100 years, and they built it stone by stone, and you're just looking at them going, wow.
It is cool.
I mean,
it is really cool, but comparatively, it's so amazing. Culture and history and people are, it's so rich and fascinating to learn things that are different from us. But did you find, as I have wherever I've gone, that people really just want the same things? They want to be with the people they love. They want meaningful work. They just, they want to be happy, just like the rest of us. I love seeing cultures that are so different and have things that are so different, but underlying everything, it just reaffirms your love of humanity, that we're kind of really all the same when it comes down to the core level.
Yes, exactly. It is totally the same. We do all want the same things. And it is, I really learned. So I grew up with my parents being in business, and most of their business was in Europe. So I was able to go to Europe, and I never, I was very lucky. And then the business changed a little bit, and they went to Taiwan and China and things to have manufactured. So, so that's my first experience with Asia. And then we bought Batik Tembal, and it was like, Indonesia, wow, where is that on the map? I'm like, really? And so it is, I just find it so fascinating to ask these questions. Well, what's important to you? My family. What do you want creativity wise? I mean, Indonesia, it's creative everywhere. I mean, they're doing that, and India's doing the same thing. Their governments are helping these master craftsmen continue, and that's what they want. And it's like, oh, just eat that all up. So it's global. We're global humanity, and many people have the same wants and the same cares, and it's just very rewarding to see that.
It is, and to make those connections.
Yes. Yes.
Judy, have you been working on anything?
I did a little bit. I have a piece that we had a dear quilter who passed away last year, and she had an amazing collection of Japanese fabrics. And so there were pieces, strips, cut in 1-inch strips. Who would have ever thought? But I started sewing them just because I needed something to do. So they say, Morna, a couple of people say, just sew something. Doesn't matter what it's going to be, just sew. So I'm working on a piece with all these Japanese textiles in log cabin blocks. And I'm actually ready to start sewing. I'm trying to learn how to put machine thread onto quilts. I'm not very good at that. I don't feel confident in it. So that's kind of been my goal, is to do that.
Yeah. And it's interesting that almost everybody I talk to is rarely doing the work that they usually do, but they're doing exactly that. They're just putting things together to do something. Because
Right.
I think as makers, we have to do and make.
Exactly.
But sometimes it's deep and creative and amazing, and sometimes you just got to put 2 pieces of fabric together and sew a line. And I'm doing a lot more cutting scraps than sewing scraps.
Yeah.
And at the end of this, I have a fabulous quilt bead where I can hand them a stack of cut scraps like this, and 2 days later, oh, here's a queen size quilt.
Oh my gosh, really? Awesome. Oh.
Yeah. So it makes me happy. And so in the back of my mind, I'm like, well, if I never sew these together, I know they'll be used somehow.
And it's making me feel good. And that's what it is. That's what it's about.
It is. And for me, this I don't piece. And I don't measure. So cutting these precise little squares and scraps they're all just squares for half square triangles, stacks of them. And it's just soothing to create order. I think that's what it is.
Trying to control something.
Yeah. That must be what it is, because my usual work is not, it's usually, loose and improvisational. Even when it is controlled, it's still improvisational. Yeah. So yeah, I'm also a verbal processor, because I'm sitting here, as I blather this out, it's coming clear, going, that's why I'm doing this. It is. It's about creating order and beauty over something I can control, where everything else is uncontrollable, right?
That is very true. I mean, one of the things that I do on a regular basis, not just during this, is I make these little fabric postcards, and it's taking scraps and gluing them to a piece of fusible. And then, I at least come out with something that's usable in its postcards. But that's kind of when I'm really, really can't get my motivation going. I try to do that. And right. it is. We just have to find that Zen movement and go, okay, well, you don't need to have a result. You just need to enjoy the feeling. I mean, it's what Liz does with her stitch meditations.
Right.
So, and it could be cutting, and it could be sewing, and it can, some people like to vacuum, not me, but okay, fine.
I like the results.
Yes. I
have children for that.
Oh, good luck with that. I don't think my kid still knows how to turn one on.
Mine all do chores really well, because I've been really strict about no screen time. Just
so good.
Not now, not anymore, but always it's been, no, you can't just sit down and play a game on the computer. You can do this and this and this chore first, and then you can have an hour. So yeah, that, and I neglect them, so they had to learn to feed themselves and do all those things, right? It's all good. They know they're loved, and
That's
it's
the most
a good
important
thing.
thing.
Right.
Yep.
So is there anything you want to say to your people?
Well, I like you really are energized by people, and that has been very difficult to not. I'm a hugger. People come in my store. I can greet a lot of them by name, give them hugs, and ask how they're doing. And so I did a hug on Facebook, but I think that is, I just miss that human contact so much. And I just want everybody to be safe. I don't know what the new normal will be, but we'll be here. We will absolutely be here in some form, some shape. I'm like you. I love my customers. I love my quilters, my fiber artists. And that's maybe why my tail end is dragging a little bit, is because I don't have those pick-me-ups that my customers give me. I really miss that. So I miss them. I miss you. I miss all my contacts. It's just the most amazing industry in the universe to be part of. And we have new sewers that are going to come. It's awesome. That's been the silver lining.
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, we have new sewers coming. It is exciting.
Yeah, that is gonna be good. I know locally on one of the local Facebook groups, I raised my hand and said, yep, you can't figure out what's going on in your machine, let's FaceTime, have somebody hold it up and let me do that. Yeah, so I see that too. I see lots of people sewing. It's been fabulous and delightful to spend time with you. You all know, right, that part of this, 90% of this is for me. Because I feel so much better after seeing you and talking with you and making a virtual connection heart to heart. And I appreciate it. I appreciate your spending time with me this morning.
Oh, it's my pleasure. And I think you have a great idea. It helps me too a lot.
Good.
Yeah. And thank you so much for including me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah, my pleasure. And to all of our people out there, we love you. And Judy, I love you. So stay safe, stay healthy, and have a lovely day, dear.
Have so much fun today. And this has definitely, I got smiles on my face. So thank you. Thank you.
Good.
And to everybody out there, love you guys. Thanks.
Bye-bye.
Bye.